Hey, it's Dan Emmons, and this is Bite-Sized Blockchain.
I'd like to start off by giving credit to both Andreas Antonopoulos and Khan Academy, from which I borrowed several ideas during my research in order to produce this episode. I like to keep my content original, but sometimes it's best to give homage to those that came before you, and I'm grateful to build upon the shoulders of these giants. So to both of you educators, on behalf of the entire Bitcoin community, thank you. Satoshi Nakamoto is the pseudonym given to the entity that released the first version of the Bitcoin white paper and software. We don't know whether they're alive or not, if they're one person or two, 10 people, male or female, a group, or whether they're nice or bad people. Did they mean to wreak havoc on our lives, leaving us in a perpetual state of searching for this missing person? No. The product that was released was taken over by a community of people that is growing. The project that started as just a meme, this concept of decentralized consensus, is now a reality. No single person has control over the product any longer. No single entity has the ability to force their will over the meaning of truth in the marketplace. The laws of nature are but the mathematical thoughts of God. This statement was made by Euclid of Alexandria, who lived about 300 years before Christ. He's considered to be the father of geometry. It says something very fundamental about nature, that mathematical laws underpin what can and cannot occur. The word geometry has Greek roots. Geo comes from Greek for earth. Metry comes from Greek for measurement. Now, he was not the first person to study shapes and try to find relationships in those lines and curves. So what made Euclid special? He went into depth about them and laid them out in an empirical fashion that started with basic assumptions, axioms, and proved or deduced theorems. He could make proofs by showing that other things were contradictions and could not be true, rigorously proving beyond a shadow of a doubt for an entire set of knowledge from which to build a set of propositions. For almost 2,000 years, people did not view you as educated unless you read his Book of Elements. This is an unbelievable shelf life for a textbook. It became the second most printed book in the Western world, only to the Bible. This day and age, do we say, who is Euclid? Do you know Euclid? Do you know if he was male or female? A group of philosophers? Was he a good man or a fraud? Did he force his beliefs on others? Maybe he or she was a violent person. Does it really matter who that person was? Did you ever meet him? How could you trust him? Do you trust that two parallel lines will not intersect because Euclid was such a good person and you take his word for it? Of course not. So how do you know it to be true? You could start by attempting to show the opposite, that the parallel lines do intersect. Through a series of proofs that you studied, you're able to start with a certain observable premises, and from those, arrive at conclusions such that they would violate this particular axiom and create an absurd outcome. This is called reductio ad absurdum. You arrive at an inescapable conclusion that these axioms hold true, not because Euclid told you, but because we have independently verified the truth. It doesn't matter who Satoshi is. Satoshi doesn't control the open source code. You can read the code and develop an understanding of the mathematical principles underpinning the operation of Bitcoin. It can take years to understand them, but after you do, you can not only understand them, but build a system that replicates these mathematical proofs. Even by doing that, you would have no more control over the system than Satoshi has over Bitcoin. Those truths can be proven correct, and they have certain applications. Part of Greek culture is taking mythology and building stories to describe technology. Andreas also made the bold statement that Satoshi is Prometheus. From Greek mythology, Prometheus stole fire from the gods and gave it to man. Once man had fire, it could never be taken away again. Likewise, Satoshi took money from the banks and gave it to man, and now there's no taking that back. Once you have knowledge, it is eternal. Remember that Bitcoin can be used in whole or partial units, and we refer to the smallest unit of Bitcoin currency recorded on the blockchain as a Satoshi. It is 100 millionth of a single Bitcoin. So, while the true identity of Satoshi Nakamoto is unknown, we still pay respect to its original creator today. Please subscribe, like, and share.